talking about all over the country, the feds paid to have this done. They, well, I had a news article the other day. I haven't covered it yet. Bob, do you have that article where the little kid fell asleep at his table? His family had been in the hospital. It was his sister or his mother. I have to get the article. This is admitted. I remember seeing this in the paper. So he fell asleep, his little head. They've been at the hospital all night. He still went to school. And the officer came in, arrested him, charged him with disorderly conduct, sleeping, was disorderly. And now he's on probation, and he visits the probation officer. And that's the new system, 10 years in prison in Florida for speeding, a year in prison for an apple peel. I mean for an apple core or a banana peel on the ground. It's total control where they're now arresting you for no seatbelt. They're now arresting you for no turn signal. They'll taser you. They taser you in Canada if you don't pay to get on the train. And they say this is your punishment. It's psycho. What's happened?
We lost our grand juries. There is a different way of appealing. When I was before the head district judge here in Travis County, and he suggested I file my complaints with the sheriff's department, and I told him I did, and they threw it in the trash. He said, well, I needed to appeal that to a higher court and petition for a writ of mandamus. And I told him, well, I don't know, Judge. You go before a corrupt judge, and he renders a corrupt decision. So they tell you, oh, that's okay. You can go before a whole panel of corrupt judges, and they can screw you royal. He said, well, Mr. Kelton, I don't think it's that bad. Said, yeah, that's because you're not pro se. I would much rather appeal to a grand jury. He said, well, you can't appeal to a grand jury. Sure I can. I can appeal to them with allegations of shielding from prosecution against the officer and see if they can get him arrested. Much better to take your complaint to a grand jury.
But, how do they humanly, I guess it's all about revenue. A little kid who's an A student falls asleep, 11 years old, and they arrest him, and his life's basically criminal from now on. He'll never get out of their system.
That's part of the basic programming.
Oh, they admit the schools are to get you ready for prison.
The biggest hurdle I have to come over is the programming you had in school. You go to school for 12 years, and they tell you about all these great and wonderful rights that you have and all these privileges that you have as a citizen, but don't even think of trying to express one of those while you're in this school, because if you do, the whole weight of the world will fall right on your heads.
But the schools are designed to hurt our children, and, did you hear about the case with We Are Change in Kentucky, who had press passes and the cops tackled them and stole their stuff?
No, I didn't hear about that.
And then now they call the cops, and the cops go, we don't have those officers working here, and it turns out they do. What do you do when they just deny it? And the cop can come walking out in his uniform, and they'll laugh and say, doesn't exist, slave.
I don't even talk to the policeman. Once they've screwed up, I go up. First place I want to go is grand jury. And the prosecutor's going to say, well, you're going to file it with me. Okay, I'll file it with you. And then he'll refuse to give them to the grand jury. Then I'll file against both of them. You get up there in the higher areas. We're the sovereigns. We can do that. We go up.
We're human beings?
They forgot that.
I thought they're authorities and we're scum.
Well, I tend to remind them that I'm sovereign. They forget. I never tell them I'm sovereign, but I do things that sovereigns do. I don't care what they say about a grand jury. From what I can find in Texas, there's no law in Texas that says I cannot approach the foreman of the grand jury while he's sitting on the toilet. If it doesn't say I can't do it, I can do it. So I go to the highest courts, I go to the highest judges and the grand jury at the drop of a hat.
Well, Randy, we're going to have you back up for 2 hours to take calls sometime. Very interesting fella. I plan to get George Gordon back on the show, too. I hadn't had him on in about 5-6 years as we explore other areas. But the website is Jurism Prudence, Jurisim, prudence.com. And in the next month or so, if you're having another seminar here in Austin or any surrounding area, I'd like to have you back in the studio to plug that. Randy Kelton, thanks for the time.
We also have a website, Rule of Law Radio. It's a little easier to remember, ruleoflawradio.com.
I'm sure my good friend Danny will appreciate that. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Thank you, Randy.